and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined, as always, by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we need to go to the beach.
We do.
I'm just telling you, we got to go to the beach.
We need a vacation.
Papa needs his head straight. And it's just one of those things, man. I feel it in my soul. Sometimes you guys get like this. You know, everybody has something, right? You hear people go, I need to get to the mountains, or some people,
right?
I mean, heck, some people are just like, I need to go ghost hunting, which we do that too, as far as where we need to go out and get into the paranormal, like smell some black mold and,
right,
you know, all
pick
those,
up some dust.
Yeah, get the dust bunnies up in your nose. And people that haven't been, you know, it's weird. It's funny what some smells and things will do for you, right? So, in my Bruce Wayne job, hashtag Bruce Wayne job, I have to go visit people sometimes that have shops that are outdoors sometimes. And, you know, it's funny because they'll run like kerosene heaters. It's a specific smell.
Right.
But those smells, I love those smells. I love the smell of cut timber. And like chainsaw oil. Isn't that weird? That's a weird one.
That's a little strange.
But
probably from your childhood.
It's from Granddaddy. Like it's like I could smell it, and I don't know. It just makes me happy.
Right.
But nothing gets to me any more than that smell of the ocean, that the beach, that wind and the smell and the salt and the just that feeling that you get at the beach. And I think it's because maybe growing up. You know, the beach was the ultimate thing, right? When you get there, you've been working to get there all year.
Right.
So when you're there, you don't have any troubles. Normally, you've got a specific time that's set off away from work. And there's, you know, because right now, if we decided to go down to the lake, I would still have thoughts of work.
Right.
Or problems or kids or bills. But when you go like on a beach trip, you've got everything planned out for that allotment.
Right.
And maybe that has something to do with it, or maybe it's just the beach rocks. I don't know.
Maybe.
Do you have a certain, like, is there a smell that you just love or can put you in a good mood or clear your head or?
Honestly, I really love the smell of coffee brewing.
I knew
It really wakes me up.
I knew you were going to say that, but
really
I guess I
love
should
that.
know you're going to say that.
I love to make coffee in the morning just because half of it is, not that I like to drink it, but most of it's just I love smelling it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like as it's brewing.
So let me ask you, when you were a small little Stacey.
Yes.
Did you like the smell of the freshly ground coffee aisle? You know, like where you can get the beans and stuff. Do they still do that?
I don't think anymore.
I don't.
Some places
go to
used
stores.
Some places used to, but I think they stopped doing all that self-serve stuff during the pandemic. So I don't know if they do that anymore.
Guess that could be a bad thing.
Yeah.
During pandemic.
Yeah. Sort of
contagious coffee beans.
Right. Kind of got me away from my self-serve Jelly Belly jelly beans.
Oh, you do love those.
I do love those.
Not much of a smell attached to those, but
no, but
Yeah, I'm not a big Jelly Belly person. I don't much care for it.
You know, it's funny because you said that thing about as a child and the whole beach trip thing. And see, when I was a kid, I lived at the beach.
Right.
So for us, it was, like getting to the mountains or
Was it ever
sometimes,
the mountains for you?
Yeah. Before we moved to the mountains, we would always take a trip to, the mountains or go camping.
Right.
Or we'd go to an amusement park, but that's not really a long vacation destination.
Yeah. I know you love roller coasters and all that. So there is a smell attached to amusement parks. And it's that, you can't smell water, but there's this, it's like the wood and the water, and there's something that I only smell when I'm at an amusement park. Can't really even describe that to you.
I don't know.
But that smell, I love that smell. It's like the water ride smell.
Right, the water rides.
Yeah,
and cleaner,
maybe somebody knows what I'm talking about.
People smell.
What's your favorite, like, non-roller coaster, like, big amusement park?
Oh, it's got to be the log flume.
Right.
See, we went to Busch Gardens when I was a kid. We always had season passes, and we went all the time. That was my favorite ride.
Yeah, I like now, would that be associated with, I like the one, like the circle, the family can get in.
The Wild Rapids.
Yeah.
They didn't have that when I was little.
I love
they
that.
just had the log flume. I like the rapids.
I like the rapids. That's got to be my favorite thing, hands down. It's I mean, I used to love roller coasters. So that before I, found wrestling and bad backs and all that good
right,
stuff.
before they hurt.
Yeah. Hey, we had to talk about something. And obviously, yeah, I was going to wait till later to talk about this. And I got to put it over. Anybody follows our socials, which would be facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. You should really join the group for Paranormal Sideshow because that's where a lot of the action is. And it's a lot of fun. We enjoy having everybody over to our little corner of the Book of Face there. Twitter at Sideshow97. That's a good place. If you want to be a patron, and we'll get more to this soon, it's patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow.
Right.
But I posted a lot about this. We watched a documentary, and the documentary actually comes from a few years back. And not very far ago, like 2019, I think.
Probably something like that.
It was pretty recent, but somebody that we follow, her YouTube channel, Johanna, she does some really amazing work talking about what we talk about, when we talk about ancient mysteries and the time before the time kind of thing. The fact that we've been here a lot longer, that history is, I don't want to say lying boldly to your faces, but is wrong. Definitely is wrong. And, even I have to say this, I was just watching a documentary from the 90s, and it was something to do with Robert Schoch and John Anthony West and their work they did with the Sphinx, and the fact of having, the obvious erosion in the water. And so this was obviously built and constructed. It was around when there was still a different climate. And, they were getting rain, they were getting a lot of weather and everything. So, at least 10,500 years back. So that's what got him kicked out of Egypt in the 90s, which is crazy. That is specifically what got them kicked out. But I was watching this anyway, this from the 90s, and they were talking on there. They would go, well, that is what happened. And of course, our favorite man from Egypt.
Right. Zahi Hawass.
Yeah. Even back in the 90s was the one who got them out of there. And, he was talking about it, and it went through their narrator. The narrator was like, this really doesn't make sense because obviously modern day science knows that 10,500 years ago, humans were hunter-gatherers. They weren't able to, the way they talk, it was like if two or more would show up at the same place, they'd be like, oh God, man, what are you doing here? Just like run away. We can't be seen in the same place.
We can't make this a community.
We can't build anything. We're going to hunt together. And, I've always hated that. But nonetheless, now we know, and there is scientific facts backing this up, and it's the timeline keeps getting pushed back further and further and further, and this all keeps happening, right? This is something that I predicted and over a decade ago that it was going to happen, but thankfully we're living in this time where it is happening, and a lot of people's work is being backed up, and they're getting a little bit of and some other people are getting a comeuppance. I always like to see some good comeuppance.
Yes. But
it was funny watching that and how much things change so quickly, and how it's hard to, we talk about UFO disclosure, right?
Right.
Happening. And you looking back at these ancient times and all this stuff happening right now. What a time to be alive. I mean, what a time to be alive. But
Absolutely.
we were watching this documentary, and we were watching it because Johanna, she actually got to narrate it. She loved it, and she talked about it on her Funny Old World. Well, it's not a podcast; it's a YouTube show.
YouTube show, yeah.
But we'll link to it, so you'll be able to find it if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Paranormal TV, just go to our socials, and it's shared there quite often. But we went and watched this, and it was called BAM. And it looks suspiciously closely to the Books A Million logo. but it's called BAM, and it's Builders of Ancient Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not going to spoil any of this for you, but I have never seen a documentary cover these subjects where they use actual science to the degree that this one does. It's almost like they're trying to disprove things, and they have, actual, credentialed people on there.
Geologists, and all kinds.
Yeah,
of
who are trying their best.
Yes.
To disprove things.
And they even asked for very specific equipment that was very precise.
Right.
To do measurements in all these different locations. And very specific things with like diamond tips, and it's just amazing. Lasers caves, and stuff. Don't spoil it.
I'm not.
Don't spoil it.
I'm not. The math on the Great Pyramid.
Oh, it's fantastic. And they walk you through it, and you do have to pay attention, but it's really like they take you step by step through everything. And the documentary, if you hadn't heard of it, it's probably because it's originally a French documentary.
Right.
And the way Johanna got involved was the person that did the English translation was not a native English speaker. So it was not, she said it wasn't the best narration. It wasn't the best translation. I guess maybe it was a little harder to follow. So she just offered her services.
Right.
She said, I'll be happy.
She's an actress anyway.
To do the English translation of this. And so they agreed, and she went over and spent a couple days and redid the whole thing with her English commentary.
She actually went to Paris.
Yeah, made it so good. And these people, they went to all these locations and saw them personally and did all.
It wasn't just talking about it. They did it, and they actually, as you said, they went to all the locations, which is very cool anyway. And they really deep dived all of it. But like I said, it's going to blow you away. I've heard a lot of the math on, Graham Hancock's specials and books and all this stuff. I've heard this in different places, right? A lot of what they cover, but they do cover territory that I have not got to hear just from that other perspective. And it was really cool. Listen, you got to go out of your way.
Yes.
If you love what we talk about when we talk about, the ancient world and how some stuff just doesn't add up, definitely. This is a John and Stacey suggestion here. It's really good stuff, as is the movie The Northman.
That was a good movie. I liked it.
Listen, I went twice to the theater, and now that sucker's up on demand. If you've ever loved anything to do with Vikings and violence, this is your movie. Listen,
yes.
I love this movie. It is so good, and it more than makes up for The Lighthouse. So Eggers has he has my soul again. It's really good.
He had to have a good one to make up for The Lighthouse.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. So I will just say, before we get into some really big news we have today, and we have some big things to talk about, folks, I have to talk about our Patreon. We have some really fun things going up there, and oh man, this is like so fun that I almost was like, you know what? Let's just it's for the patrons. We appreciate you so much, all of our patrons out there, the patrons that have stuck with us and been there with us since the first, ones that have come along since then, ones that have come along since watching us on Paranormal TV. We really appreciate you so much. It helps more than you realize. There's a lot of costs that go into all of this. And, to be able to put this on for you, it means a lot to us that you take your time and invest in what we do. So we have got something fun for you. And we've brought back a title that we've used once before, but John and Stacey versus the Unknown. And it's a weekly series now on our Patreon that is us basically watching the latest and greatest, the latest and latest videos from around the web of UFO, Sasquatch, whatever, weird.
Paranormal. Anything that people upload and try to say is this or that, we watch them and give our 2 cents.
Just our 2 cents. So mystery, science, paranormal, basically. No, but you'll see some cool videos and hear some stuff. And we got a few other things planned. The next episode after this episode, which, right? Next episode, we're starting a new series here on the Proper podcast, and it's going to be our 5 from 5 series. So I love this. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is take our first 5 episodes, and we're going to take 5 stories out of there, stories or things we talked about or whatever, and look at them through today's lens. Mm-hmm. You know, so we're some odd 7 years or something from that, but you know, our catalog goes back much further with Haunted South. You know, we could go back 13 years. We could go back and do these as long as we like this, but we're going to work our way through the Paranormal Sideshow. It'll be probably once a month. I would think that one of the episodes will be the 5 from 5. Just a lot of fun. Where's the story at now? So once again, you want to get in on this? Patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's where you'll get it. And every week it's John and Stacey versus the Unknown. Just a lot of fun with the video thing and some other little goodies, including, if you're on there, you would have seen some of our Super Blood Death Mitsubishi Eclipse Moon
video.
Yeah. The video from that, it's not that great, but we put it up anyway. I just want to throw that out there. We had a lot of fun watching that.
We had some really nice pictures, though. We did
have good pictures.
We posted some of those on Facebook. So
yeah, I tell you, it's not always what it's cracked up to be, right? When they put these things, but man, we went out the other night and that was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was really nice.
Some good stuff.
I'm glad it wasn't cloudy for us. I know some people had some cloudy.
Yeah.
Some cloudy. They had some cloud cover.
Yeah, some cloudy always sucks. It really does. Okay. Something that wasn't cloudy, beautiful night. I went to go see Billy Joel. And, you know, I'm only mentioning this because I would never have imagined that one of the greatest concerts that I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot, would be from a guy in his 70s. My God. Me and Raja went, we had a little Billy Joel thing going, and this guy, holy cats, this guy sounded like he was 20 years old. He might have sounded better than he sounded when he was 20, but it got me very excited for Pearl Jam. So this year's Operation Pearl Jam, Duran Duran, I'm going full 80s, 90s, man, and 70s with Billy Joel.
There you go.
So
just trying to fit them all in.
Oh yeah, I definitely am. Billy Joel. If Billy Joel can do it, they can all do it. It was really a damn good concert, though.
Mm-hmm. Seemed like it.
And while we're on the topic of topics, I will say this: it's another John and Stacey suggestion. Outer Range. I think it's streaming on Amazon.
It is. It's Amazon Prime.
Dude, listen. It's really good.
It's good.
It's good. Now, all the episodes are up now for this season at least. And it's kooky, crazy, fun of loving. It's good stuff. You know, we always talk about Spellmonger, too, the series. And I love it on Audible. I know some of you have tried and not liked it. Others of you have tried and loved it. We've made it all the way up to the latest book that came out this year. I'm going to have to get a hold of Terry Mancour and just be like, hey, man. I know you put one out like twice a year.
Right.
We got to have another book. We're starting to Jones already. It's like, my God, I hope it doesn't run out on us. And before we get to the news, I do have to say, congratulations, Cody and Hannah. We love you guys. Beautiful wedding. But speaking of beautiful, it's now time for some beautiful, beautiful stories. It's now time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, let's get to the news.
Let's do it.
All right. So, first story, we're going to talk about the fact that all 4 building blocks of DNA have now been found in meteorites.
Oh, crap.
Yes. So, after decades of searching, it says, scientists found all the components for the source code of life in extraterrestrial rocks. This is the first time ever that all 4 of the major components of DNA, because I believe they've been able to find 2 of them pretty frequently. 2 of them were very elusive.
I mean, they found all just not together, right? Or
no, yeah, they found them not. They've studied 3 different meteorites, and they were able to find the two that they always find pretty abundantly. But
Right.
then there was two that were pretty scarce, but they were there.
Right.
And the fact that all four of these are on these rocks that they found them, I mean, that basically proves that panspermia is a thing that could happen.
Panslamia.
That life could have come from somewhere else.
You could have just
in the
stopped
universe.
after. This proves that life could have come. Here.
Now, it says in this article that the two first elements, the adenine and guanine, they were found in meteorites about 50 years ago. Yeah, they knew all about this. But that cytosine and thymine were very elusive. But those are the ones that they did actually find. And this is a scientist led by
exciting.
Yasuhiro Oba, who was a professor at Hokkaido University. And it says here, I mean, it is trace amounts, but it is there.
Dude, all you need is a trace
amazing.
amount.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just listen, we were taught at a young age
Right.
that just a little bit can cause a baby.
That's right.
So, you know, you got to be super careful.
You just need one little.
And in the galactic terms,
Right.
this is pretty big, man. This means that, wow, this is huge. Because any kind of, you know, that's always been one of those arguments. Like, well, see, therefore, unless we have these building blocks of life,
Right.
well, we couldn't have it. Maybe they're not all together out there in the universe. And and this harumps it all over the place. This is
It does.
crazy.
And this even comes after a number of related studies that these same meteorites that they studied and others have found, they've also found proteins and nitrogen and water and organic compounds.
Everything you need.
All the other key ingredients that you would need to build some, a basis for life. And so if those can hit us, they're obviously hitting everywhere.
Yeah.
And we know that there are other planets that are in what's called the habitable zones.
Daddy Galaxy's just
So
throwing his stuff all over
over
the
the place.
Dang it.
So very exciting.
That is.
Very exciting discovery, I think.
That is. Go, panspermia. It's funny, like a lot of things that were theorized forever ago, such as, I don't know, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but a black hole in the middle, I mean, we finally have in the center of our galaxy, we've got the, first pictures, and we actually have proven the one thing they've been wanting to prove forever. And it was just a theory.
Right.
So that's what's so crazy about this. I've joked about the theorist.
Right.
But you get to the point and all of a sudden we've proven that this theory is real and this gravitationally is taking care of our galaxy and our solar system, that we have the black hole in the center. They weren't sure. They thought.
Right.
And now we know, and we have the rough picture, and I'm sure every one of you have seen it, this picture. And if you're listening instead of watching, I apologize. It looks like an out of focus donut, but just use your imagination. But still, that picture proved theory, and it's no longer a theory. It's amazing, is what it is, that we have this super massive black hole in the center of our galaxy, and it's really cool. So,
well, some other things that kind of just came across the news wire while you're talking about the black hole that they made the discovery on. They've discovered that there's another interstellar object, one earlier than the main one.
Yeah. And
the one they thought was the first is not the first.
Not only that, remember what a big deal they made about it being the first, right?
Right. First interstellar object ever.
Yeah, it reminds me of something else. It's the first ever. The first. Absolutely the first. Oh my God.
First time we've ever seen it.
Oh, be careful. It's the first.
Right.
And then you find out.
Not only was it not the first one hit Earth.
Yeah.
It was in 2014, and it's at the bottom of the ocean somewhere.
Hit Earth hard and was probably bigger. No, you know what? It wasn't.
It was smaller.
If Mua hit us, we'd be in trouble.
Yes, and of course, Avi Loeb. This has something to do with Avi Loeb.
Yeah,
he wants
How
to
did he get himself in trouble again.
Well, I guess he's the one that's deciding to dig for these things now that they found them.
Stacey's a science geek, man. She's all over that stuff. So I know with even having the story. So it was Avi Loeb that found this.
It was him and one of his research students, and his student led the study, but of course Avi had his hand in it and was helping him out. And yeah, they went through all the data and they found it, and it did hit. And now Avi's decided that they should go on an expedition for it.
Wow.
That's not planned, but he's like, look, because, you know, it would have broke up into a lot of little pieces at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh my God, it could be anything.
But he was like, you could use a magnetic scooping device to scoop a 10 square mile area of the ocean. I mean, they know basically where it hit.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you could totally find pieces of it. He would do it in a heartbeat. If they gave him the money and a big magnetic scooping equipment.
Dude, it's an
he would totally
interstellar object, meaning it's from another stellar. So, I mean, you know.
I think they should go look for it, personally.
Dude, that is amazing. It's amazing. And it could be anything.
It could be.
It could have 8 building blocks. It could have
all the blocks.
It could have building blocks we didn't even know about.
And why we're speaking of UFO, well, we weren't speaking of UFOs, but Interstellar.
Somewhat.
You
already done it, have you?
The government.
Witch! She's a witch! Avi's going to go find it. It's going to be a UFO, and there you were saying it was.
Well, that's what he thinks it is. You know,
Of
that's
course
what
he
he thought
does.
the other one was. UFO Congress.
Yes.
They're doing a UFO Congress. First time in like 50 years.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff, everything that's going on right now. A lot of interesting stuff going on, and the world's moving. I mean, it seems like something is on the horizon, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean,
it
everything's
does.
falling into place.
Right.
So
Weird things happening.
a lot. I mean, a lot of weird things are happening, and everything is literally falling into place.
That's true. In
the case of your interstellar object, it did fall into place. But I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and everything seems plausible. You know, that's the strange thing. Like, you hear now, like, giant hairy ape caught, floating in space. It doesn't really.
You'd be like, yeah,
oh,
it
really?
could be. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did they show
found
us?
those building blocks?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on to that story.
Let's.
All right. So let's talk about Mars. They are taking all the pictures on Mars.
Oh my God! This didn't make the rounds or anything.
Do you know what they found? I bet you do.
I do.
A doorway has been seen on Mars. And this is a picture that was taken by the Curiosity rover. And, if you zoom in fairly close, there is what looks exactly like a doorway in the side of this cliff. It is so strange.
When this first was hitting, I was on Reddit and I was showing Stacey, and we got on NASA site and got the files, and it was like, you know what? You can call it natural or say, well, that's probably a rock formation. What? Listen, that's pretty precise.
It is.
I mean, it looks like to me, it looks like a Stargate. It looks like, as in, like, around the world in some of the antiquity, some of the ancient sites where, what I'm talking about. You have the stone wall and there's a doorway cut for no specific reason.
Right, doesn't actually go anywhere.
There's a lot of shaman over there. Look like they're peeing on the wall. They're not peeing. They're praying, or they're trying to go through the gate. I don't know if they went yet or not. Nobody really talks to their guys. They kind of stink and they scare young children. But at the same time, maybe they are. Maybe they're swamming all through the universe. That's what it looked like to me. It reminded me of something you see at Pumapunku or something. It reminded me of something, that if I was watching a Peruvian, monolith documentary.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, the official explanation is that it's not a door, that it's just some natural formation. It was weathered and deteriorated from this one little spot in the side of this big long cliff, just in this one area. There was some kind of fracturing, and it just happened to, erode away.
Yeah, they said it's a fracture.
Perfectly door-shaped.
One of those door-shaped fractures.
Yes. And they claim that it's probably not an actual door because it's only less than 3 feet tall. That doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
There are small doors.
Maybe there's a matching one in Ireland.
Maybe people on Mars, when they lived there, were very short.
There was a little shillelagh found there on the Martian dirt. Regardless,
right?
It's a cool anomaly. A lot of times we see those things, and I'm like, no,
Yeah, no, that's not a monkey riding a motorcycle.
I wish.
On Mars.
God, why can't it be a monkey riding a motorcycle? But no, and it might be nothing, but I'm just saying on this one, that
pretty strange.
It's some really straight lines, and that's what really gets me is the angles and the fact that, it's not as much a pareidolia as it is that looks like a freaking door. So there you go.
There you go. All right, so let's move on, shall we? All right, so let's talk about a UAP image from the past that now has a new high-resolution scan. Now, this is really interesting. So I'm just going to give you a really quick backstory on this picture.
Please.
So this was taken on September 4th, 1971.
Wow.
And it was on a twin-engine plane. And it was an automated camera, and it was pointing down. There was a team, it was the National Geographic Institute of Costa Rica, and they were studying the potential impact on surrounding land and water of a hydroelectric project that they were wanting to do in the vicinity.
Exciting, guys.
So 10,000 feet, the aerial photographer had a 100-pound map-making camera, and it was taking pictures at 20-second intervals. And it just shot the pictures, of the ground.
Super quick.
I guess that's how they make maps. I don't know. So eventually, after they pulled the negatives out, they didn't even study the pictures. There wasn't somebody taking a physical picture. They didn't know it took the picture.
Automatic.
Right, because it's automatic. And even when they got back, they just put the negatives away until they decided to pull them out and start studying them. And when they did, on frame number 300, there was an image of what appeared to be a shiny metallic disc to the right of the photograph.
Yeah.
Now, this particular object has not been able to be debunked. It was analyzed by several people who all said that is actually something in the photograph. It is not a defect.
I'm looking at your photo.
Right. And then the picture before it had nothing. The picture after it had nothing. Just this one frame.
It looks like a damn UFO.
It does. Now, what's happened is in comes a man named Esteban Carranza.
Always.
And he has a 40-plus-year-old 8x10 negative, which is called a contact copy of the original negative. And he got it from his uncle. He had an uncle that passed this last year, and he inherited it. And his uncle obtained it back in the 70s from the National Geographic Institute. Now, whenever he had it, he went to visit the gentleman that was in the airplane operating the map-making camera in 1971. He's still alive, and he went to visit him. And he showed him the negative, and the pilot was ecstatic because the original negative has been handled and studied so much it's scratched. It's completely damaged. This one was not. It was very good condition. So they sent it off to a photo laboratory, got a high quality 1.7 gigabyte scan of it, and had it redone so that you could see the object much clearer. And by gosh, it looks metallic.
It was 1.7 gigabytes for the
high quality scan of the picture. That's how high quality it was. Yes.
Dear God.
For anybody that's into photography, apparently they used a tango drum scanner.
No.
And produced a very high quality scan.
Not a tango drum scanner.
Tango drum scanner.
Oh my God. Can you imagine how good that would be if you sat on the copier?
So now we have this really amazing high resolution scan of this extraordinary UFO that
you can actually see the aliens giving you the hey.
I just think it's amazing that it went through such scrutiny and has never been able to be debunked.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
And that particular area, I believe, has a lot of, they're near a volcano and stuff. There's a lot of activity.
You have a volcano, you got UFOs.
Yeah.
Just happens, folks.
So, yeah, very interesting.
UFOs love the lava.
I think it's just a good place to hide where people aren't going to accidentally wander in.
I think that's the way they get into. It doesn't matter.
If you wander into a volcano, it's usually because you're being thrown in for a
because you're going down to
sacrifice.
inner earth, baby.
You're not coming back. All right, so let's move on. How about a ghost story?
How about a ghost story?
Yes, so this is a story about the mayor's mansion in New York City.
Oh.
Yes, so recently.
This sounds good already.
Yeah, New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
I'd like to take a drink of water. That one may.
All right, you do that while I talk. He was on the Yes Network, and he went to the Yankees-Toronto Blue Jays baseball game and threw out the first pitch. And after he threw out the pitch, he went up and he was speaking with the announcers for the game, and they were asking him questions. And I guess the topic came up about the mansion.
Is it like a known haunted location?
Yes, and he claims that it is absolutely haunted. And they, questioned him about it a little bit, and they asked him whether
during the game.
Yeah, like they're just talking and stuff.
You're about the pricks.
Asked whether he's ever heard a ghost wandering around the Upper East Side mansion. He was like, all the time.
Oh wow! So he just came right out with
all the time. Yeah, he said, listen, they're creeping around. He said that you can hear the floors creaking, all kinds of stuff all the time. Now, the particular mansion was built in 1799, and it's called Gracie Mansion. And the daughter-in-law of the guy that was the architect was Archibald Gracie.
Oh.
And his daughter-in-law died in the house of apoplexy.
Wow.
And so the rumor is that her ghost is still wandering the mansion. And it turns out that there was an interview in like 2017 with Bill de Blasio's wife, Charlene McCrae, and they asked her if she ever heard anything in the house. Now, Bill de Blasio didn't live in the house. He didn't even move in. Like there was a whole period of time where it was vacant between the mayor before him and this mayor. He just didn't, he used it sometimes, but he didn't want to live there. But she said that she never actually saw the woman's ghost, but that there were times when the doors would open and close by themselves and the floorboards would creak as though someone was walking through the rooms. So definitely very haunted mansion.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
I love stories like that.
He's all about it. He's like, yeah, it's so
You think
haunted.
you'd let somebody investigate?
I don't know. He seems pretty cool about it. I don't know.
We need to do that.
He might.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Beautiful house, but yeah, it's definitely haunted. Ugh, craziness. All right, so let's move on.
Let's.
And while we're talking about ghosts, let's talk about an incident that happened in a South African school where some children were terrified by what they were calling a granny ghost.
Oh, no.
Yes. Now, these were elementary school students that were attending the Fakamasani Primary School in South Africa.
How mad would that ghost be if it was like a 35-year-old woman, you know? Granny ghost.
Well, they were terribly frightened after they were allegedly being physically attacked by an aggressive apparition resembling a short granny-like figure with dreadlocks. Now, what happened was these are like first to third grade students, like young kids. And supposedly several of them saw this apparition and they started freaking out. And so they had to cancel classes. Of course, none of the adults saw anything.
Well, yeah.
But a lot of the kids really were affected.
Oh, my God.
And so they...
Poor babies.
They put something out on, social media saying they were going to cancel some classes. And they didn't cancel all the classes, but a lot of the parents came and picked their kids up anyway. And even the local mayor,
I have a friend that's a teacher in South Africa. So that's... I need to get a hold of him.
So one of those just it says they reportedly assaulted the learners, but they were unable, like the teachers were unable to see what was happening. But apparently the kids were very adversely affected.
That is terrible.
Isn't that awful for usually it's teenagers. You usually don't hear about this with like the younger kids like that. Like first grade to third grade.
When you do though, and a lot of them, you can't get 6, 7, or 8-year-olds to agree on lunch. So to have them all saying things like that, that's something happened.
Right.
That's spooky, man. And they'll be scarred for life. Mm-hmm. That sucks.
Yeah, like imagine trying to get a 6-year-old to go back to a classroom where they saw something scary.
Bad granny ghost. Leave the little kids alone. Good ghosts don't do that.
Oh, all right. Let's talk about something strange that fell from the sky in India.
That could be anything.
In India.
Yeah.
Some strange metal balls fell from the sky in 3 different locations.
I'm not doing it.
In India. You know you want to.
I'm not doing it.
These metal balls, metallic balls, left the villagers baffled. And according to media reports, the local residents rushed out of their homes, fearing the occurrence of a possible earthquake because it was a really loud sound.
Yeah, they heard it.
Yeah, they heard him hitting the ground.
You think it was like a, or it was like a ding?
I have no idea.
I hope it was a ding.
They contacted the
Bing.
local police, who in turn called
Well, did you hear that?
the Forensic Science Laboratory to begin a probe to try and figure out what these items were. Now, supposedly the first one was a large black metal ball, and they said it looked a little bit like a bell, weighing around 5 kilograms.
It looked like a bell?
Yes. I don't know why it says it was a ball if it looked like a bell.
Did it have a Nazi symbol like on it?
No
right.
idea. And then 2 other ones fell shortly thereafter in 2 other locations that I think we have pictures, but we only have pictures of 2 of them. We don't have pictures of the black one. So they have no idea what they are. They came out. Now, recently there was another story where some like space junk, space debris fell.
We see this a lot.
Yeah, and so they're thinking that maybe that's what this is, but it's weird that they had...
But we see this stuff and there's never follow-ups. Or
No,
rarely.
I know.
You know, there's rarely follow-ups on it. Mm-hmm. And it makes you wonder.
You'd think if it was some kind of space debris that someone could go, oh yeah, that's a piece of this, or
it would be
that
dangerous
looks like,
as hell.
Yeah, or that looks like a part of this satellite, or that looks like a part of this whatever rocket booster. Like you would think,
Okay,
because this hits on the news.
3 of these.
Yeah.
In a short span of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound normal.
No, I don't think so either.
It doesn't sound normal. Poor cat will never come out from under the bed.
Things shouldn't be falling from the sky anyway. What's wrong with space debris should stay in space.
Interstellar objects.
I know.
I mean, this is the things falling from the sky episode, if I've ever heard one.
Strange things falling from the sky.
Episode. You found it.
I saw a story a couple weeks ago where some woman had a little piece of a meteorite fall through her ceiling and like hit her couch, and it just left a hole like this big in her ceiling. It's a freak accident.
Do you know what else I saw?
What'd you see?
I saw this picture of Johnny Cash.
Now that somebody shot that. Somebody shot the water tower right on the mural of Johnny Cash, and they can act like that's an accident all they want. Someone did that on purpose.
Somebody shot him right in the ring of fire, and
now he's peeing on that poor town.
it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's horrible too.
A big old thing of water. It's like Johnny after a show in his heyday. Excuse me.
That was an awful thing to do. I didn't laugh for 10 minutes at it. I swear.
Look at this. It's shooting straight out.
It is.
That couldn't have been better. Anyway.
All right.
Falling from the sky.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about some discoveries, things like that. This is about the U.S. Navy. And they're showing off their newest laser weapon.
Of course, they're showing it off.
Of course they will. So the U.S. Navy Office of Naval Research has successfully
Navy guys are at it again.
tested an all-new, fully electric laser weapon system. It's dubbed the Layered Laser Defense System, and it was designed by Lockheed Martin.
I want that job.
And it is amazing.
Pew.
It has been tested, and it hit every single target that was presented to it. And because it's electric, it doesn't use chemicals. It just runs off the power of the ship and can essentially be used forever as long as it has power.
Yeah, I mean, people
it's like
would be
no
dead
ammo.
If I was the one testing that at Lockheed, be like, Johnson, I'm good, sir. It's your duty, sir. Get over here. All I need you to do is hold this here mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to test and see. Have you ever seen the old bulletproof testing? I've seen some horrible footage. Horrible footage.
They put real people in those?
Dude, I've seen like women. It was a lot of women. And they were wearing these bulletproof vests and holding bulletproof shields and things like that as a man would take a rifle and shoot her.
Why wouldn't they just put it on a dummy?
They did. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I can get Johnson to hold the mirror.
Yeah.
It should bounce off a mirror, right? Like, we'll see mirror jets now from the enemy.
I don't know. But they're very excited about this.
Talk about cats.
They're very excited about this because it's...
What happened to Lucky? Well, we got that apartment up on the top floor of the... yeah. Well, we're right next to that Navy base.
Yep. Well, it's
1 second, Lucky's on the couch.
apparently very
Next second,
cost efficient.
Lucky's Lucky's falling right by Johnny Cash. Right to the ground.
At least he was named Lucky.
They
It's
always are.
very cost efficient because it doesn't cost hardly anything to run it, to shoot
That would be
it.
cost efficient.
Yes, and the power can be turned down, and it can shoot but not destroy. So it can like shoot to disable.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Set to stun.
yeah, exactly.
You could set to stun. And then you can't tell me they didn't do that on purpose. It's like when they're making that in the lab, they're like, all right, guys, is the laser ready?
It's just about ready, sir. Just doing a little thing here.
That thing better not be set to stun.
We did find out that that would be a possibility, sir. And then, it'll look a lot better to the bleeding hearts out there. They don't want the guns, sir. So now you could say, well, it's a bunch of stuns. Rhymes of guns.
It happened.
I'm sure.
It's Star Wars. That did it. Set to stun. Star Trek.
There you go.
It all comes true, don't it?
It does.
Tractor beams.
Just the fact that we're going to have
warp speed.
one day Navy ships out there with laser weapons is just,
Well, I mean,
oh my God.
listen, man, popular. It doesn't matter if it's television, books. Jules Verne. I mean, 100 years before Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the strangest things ever. I mean, From the Earth to the Moon, the book. It was a short story, actually, in 1865. And in 1865, Jules Verne writes that it launched from Florida, the same number of astronauts in it, and it was actually Apollo 11.
That's crazy.
All written in that short story and exactly how it happened. I mean, the Apollo 11 part, the number of astronauts from Florida going to the moon. Hey, how you doing? I'm Jules Verne. So, chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
Did that inspire them?
Mm-hmm.
They love that story, and they're like, I really like this Jules Verne story. It's going to be Apollo.
But they couldn't have known that the Apollo 11 was going to be the one.
Well,
I mean,
you're like,
we're going to start at 1, but whenever we decide we're going to go to the moon, we're going to jump to 11.
Operation Paperclip. They've probably been to the moon 1,000 times before
Probably.
that. So anyway,
All right, so let's move on.
let's.
So here's another interesting discovery. It's about scientists have rewound the clock of human skin cells to make them act 30 years younger.
Oh no!
Yes. So this is
Couldn't take the baby blood anymore, could you?
this is a process that builds on some Nobel Prize winning work of a man named Shinya Yamanaka back in 2007. He was able to turn normal cells with a specific function into stem cells. The problem with that is when you turn them into stem cells, they don't remember what they're for. So this new project now has used a different method. They call it maturation phase transient reprogramming. And it works a lot quicker, and they're able to stop before the stem cell stage is reached.
Wow.
So they can reverse the aging of the cell, but it can retain its original identity and function. And now this isn't in clinical trials yet, but they've had really, really good success. And it says that they have been able to confirm that the skin cells did indeed roll back in biological age by 3 decades. And the way they could tell that was it produced more collagen. It wounds were healing faster, like more than they normally would have.
Oh my God!
Faster healing wounds. Okay.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the battlefield implications
Right.
of that? It's like if you could just spray it on and it swamp things right back. I mean,
Isn't it crazy?
and if you can do it on the outside, I'm sure you could do it on the inside.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, now they just did this with skin cells.
my
and
God,
It only took 13 days.
you could be like 5 years old again.
Well, I don't think it makes you smaller. I think it just makes your skin. You could have 5-year-old skin, maybe. But they said one of the next steps would be try to apply the techniques to other types of cells in the body besides just the skin cells, like liver cells, things like that. And if it's completely safe and all that works, then they can move it out of the lab and put it into
But your face.
clinical trials. Yes, I just want the skin and stuff, like for the face and stuff. That would be
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind
fantastic.
to have the heart and the lungs and
Right. So
this is potentially
potentially.
the biggest story of all time.
Yeah, because they could potentially reverse the signs of aging in
If
your
that's the
organs and
case,
your
we
skin.
need to off a bunch of people. Like, we need to know that somebody needs to, phone some people up and,
I kind of want to be like a research subject so that once it comes out, I don't have to pay $2 million to be anti-aged.
I could have my chip in my head and you could have your
and I
skin
could be
cells.
5 years old. It came out wrong, but you know what I mean. I could look like I have 5-year-old skin. There you go. While still being my right age.
Moving on.
All right. So next story. Did you hear about that odd sarcophagus they found under the Notre Dame Cathedral? Yes?
Yeah, I did.
So archaeologists in France, they're redoing the Notre Dame Cathedral after the fire, and they found a mysterious sarcophagus hidden beneath the floors.
Wouldn't
of
any sarcophagus be mysterious hidden under the floor?
cathedral. I guess maybe, unless they knew it was there.
Okay.
I assume if they knew it was there, it wouldn't be super mysterious to be like,
Right.
oh, we're going to find a sarcophagus under here.
Right.
Now, they believe it may date back to the 14th century, but they have no idea because they haven't looked in it. But there are plans. Now, the story is that there are plans that they are definitely going to open it. But that's the last thing I've heard about it. It's not been opened. Don't know when it's going to be open. There's no plans of like, hey, come watch us open this. But that is the plan, to absolutely open it, do some DNA testing on it to identify who the deceased person is. They believe it's a senior church official from like the 1300s.
You're going to say that.
Yeah, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, they got that thing out of there pretty quick. They did put like an endoscopic camera in it, and it said it detected cloth remains and organic matter such as like hair and stuff. So there's definitely somebody in there, but who knows? Could you imagine being like important enough to be buried under Notre Dame Cathedral?
Or hidden enough.
Yeah, I know. Or like nobody will ever find him under here.
Strangest thing happened. The DNA came back. It was a 14-year-old girl. She was dressed like a cleaning girl.
Oh,
No idea why that would have been there.
Yeah. Who'd ever thought they'd tear down Notre Dame Cathedral,
Yeah.
right? They'll never see it down here.
Maybe it's a hunchback.
Maybe. You think the coffin would look different though if it was
Wait, have a little
have like a
little thing.
bump on the side?
They call that a Quasimodo model. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's talk about another discovery.
Let's.
This is
Quickly.
1,000-year-old Native American carvings of mysterious giant humanoids discovered on the ceiling of an Alabama cave. This is a crazy story. So the figures, 3 of which were humanoid, were among the biggest ever uncovered in the North Americas. Some of them were more than 6 feet long. Now, these were actually discovered a while back, and even in 1999, National Geographic tried to go and take pictures of it. The problem is that the ceiling of the cave is too close to the floor and nobody could get in to get very good pictures. Like they were so faint and you couldn't get them, and they're so long.
Was there a collapse or something since this was done?
No, I mean, even back in 1999, no. It's still just that much area. It just so happens that they have some high-tech 3D photogrammetry is what they call it.
I mean, the people that did the pictures, like, it had to be more space when they did the pictures.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah.
They didn't say. They didn't say if it was like the cave's been filled in now or
Talking about
whatever.
some microscopic people. That's a bigger story.
Right? To make 6 foot long. They're
Yeah.
like, we wish we were taller. Let's
Yeah.
just make the 6 feet tall people. So they use this new 3D photograph stuff
Right.
to capture. It took a month long, like grueling, just that you had to be bent over the whole time in there and move the camera. But they were able to get very, very detailed pictures of these figures. And they say that the style is reminiscent of what you would see in the Midwest, but they can't actually correlate it between the two. Like they've never seen anything like this. This is completely new sort of glyph.
That's amazing.
So it's really amazing. In fact, I believe the quote was, they clearly represent a character or set of characters that we've never seen before.
Wow.
So now they don't know very much about the people that would have lived around that cave. They're saying 1,000 to 1,500 years ago.
Which means 20,000 years.
Yeah, but
5 million.
the descendants of those people, they're saying, are like the Native Americans from the area, Cherokees, Creeks, Choctaw.
Yeah, we got you.
That. So, it could just be something from their lore, their legends, but, who knows?
Who knows?
It's craziness.
It's
They're really
cool,
cool.
though. Always finding new stuff.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the biggest.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about a discovery made by some metal detectorists.
Oh, metal detectorists.
Now, I love this story. This is about 3 metal detectorists, some friends, that went on a trip and they discovered a hoard of 161 Roman coins. Now, these coins were in such pristine condition that they hardly needed to be cleaned off.
Wow.
After they were found. But the funniest part about this is the 3 friends went out and they went to this field and they camped. And as they were just sort of setting up, one of the friends went out with his metal detector and was just sort of going around the campsite.
Yeah.
And he got a hit and he was like, oh, well, it's probably just some tent pegs. And so he was digging and he found a few little things. But as he dug down, he found a coin right there at their campsite. And so his friends came over and they kept looking. And eventually, by the end of the weekend, they had found 161 coins dating from like 340 to 402.
Wow.
Like a couple of them were. And the funniest thing about the story is they had been to this same campsite 2 weeks before and camped exactly on the spot where these were found. So they didn't find them the first time because their tent was on top of the spot where this hoard was found.
Oh my God.
And then they came back 2 weeks later.
Something drew them in there.
Right.
Those are supposed to be found.
And so
That's amazing. That's really cool.
It is an amazing story. And the coins are going to auction. They're expected to sell for between like 30,000, 40,000 pounds. And they did say that they are keeping some of the coins, and the British Museum studied them and took 2 of them, I believe, to add to their collection. So, but for the most part, they're getting to keep some and they're getting to auction them off. So very cool find, and just hilarious that they literally camped on top of them the first time and didn't find anything.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. What a story that is.
I know.
They had to be drawn to that. That's really paranormal.
Yeah, right to that one spot. And then he just so happened, like everything sort of just fell into
No
place.
such
It just
thing.
so happened. And even it said,
Coincidence.
he even said when he got the
Coincidence.
hit, he was like, I'm sure it's just tent pegs. And I think he actually did find tent pegs, but
Right.
something told him just to keep digging, I guess.
Yeah.
And he did. So very cool. All right, I have a few more stories here
right.
for us. This one is from Texas, and it's about some creepy dolls that keep washing up on a certain stretch of beach on the Texas coastline. Now, there's a gentleman named Jace Tunnel, and he works for the Mission Aransas Reserve at the University of Texas Marine Science Institute. Now, part of their job, it's like 30 miles northeast of Corpus Christi, and part of their job is this certain stretch of beach. They go out and they comb it, they check, they check for turtles, they do research, and they clean it up.
Sorry,
And
I
so,
just picture Spaceballs. Comb the desert.
with a comb, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they do it about twice a week, and they come across a lot of different debris. And so it turns out that this particular area, because of the currents in the water and the way it works, it's like a trove for junk. Like stuff just washes up all the time.
For sure.
And so it turns out that they end up with tons of creepy dolls. And so they document it on social media. And the first one they found, you're going to love this. The very first one they found, they didn't realize it was the head of a sex doll. Here. And so they posted it on social media, and you could see its big mouth open. Yeah, it's crammed with like sand. And somebody, he said somebody purchased the doll for $35. It was really funny because he's like, I posted a picture of it. I didn't realize what it was, but we got a lot of followers on the page after that.
Oh my God.
So now every time they come across a doll, they post the dolls specifically. A lot of them have like barnacles in the eyes, and they have, some of them are really creepy. But then they keep them and they sell them. He's like, a lot of people want them. I don't really know why, but they sell them and give the money to different, marine charities.
Right.
And then any other stuff they find that they think people might want, they just put it in a bucket and they sell it at a yearly fundraising auction.
Wow.
So very cool, interesting Facebook page. It's fun to follow it and see if you're in the market for a creepy sea washed up doll.
It's better than a bunch of shoes and with feet in them.
That's true. They never said they got one of those. That's a different area.
Different area.
Yeah. So interesting story. I can't believe somebody bought the sex doll head. Ugh. Gross. All right, so let's move on. This is a story about a woman who woke up at her funeral and knocked on the inside of the coffin.
Why?
I don't know why it happened. So they were at the cemetery and they were carrying the coffin to bury it, and all of a sudden, and she was asking to be let out.
Not dead
And
yet.
so they,
getting
the
better.
family was like, "Excuse me, we need to open this." And the guy from the cemetery came, and they got some officials there, and they opened it, and they, verified that she was actually alive, just very weak vital signs. So they loaded her up, took her to the hospital, put her on life support machines. Now, a few hours later, she did pass away, they say. So they had to do the funeral again. But clearly, she was not. She was in a car accident, and I guess she must have been in a coma or something. And they planned her funeral and got there, and yeah, her family's pretty upset. Isn't that awful? I can't. I want to bring back the bells. Bring back the bells.
How
on
does
the
this
strings.
happen? No, you can't have a bell. No. You've creeped me out with that enough.
Can I have a bell, but inside the coffin, set up a timer so that it just rings periodically?
See, that's what you would do.
Or maybe motion. Oh, motion detector. Yeah, that'd be good. Somebody walks by. Ding, ding, ding. That'd be fantastic. No, I can't have it?
No.
Can I have a mirror on my gravestone with like an image of me in it? Okay, fine.
I'm going before you anyway, so
Fine.
get what you want.
All right. I'll put it in my will, and the kids will have to do it. Don't they have to do it if you put it in your will?
Dying
These are my
wish.
last wishes.
Yeah, dying wish, dying words. Just be sure to say it. I got something planned for mine. So
Oh, no. All right. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Chris Fleming.
okay.
Psychic Chris Fleming. He claims that when he was filming a new show called Spooked Scotland, that he was violated by a ghost.
You don't say.
Yes, I do say. So they were filming this new series called Spook Scotland with Gail Porter, and they visited a prison called Stirling's Historic Old Town Jail.
Right.
And they were in a room that was used 170 years ago, supposedly for prisoners' medical exams. And he said he felt what he could only describe as an embarrassing and not pleasant experience. He says, you see a doctor who puts on a glove and does that exam. It kind of felt like that. He's like, that's not what this was.
So,
But it kind
when
of
you
felt
say
like that.
exam,
Like prostate
do
exam.
you mean like turn your head and cough exam?
No.
Or do you mean
No. He said
poop it, shoot it?
he said he got this feeling that he can only equate to what it feels like for a man to get a prostate exam. Yes. And he was like, I'm not saying that's what this was. It wasn't that, but that was just, he just got that feeling while he's in that room.
I'm not entirely sure that's what it is. I'm going to go back tonight to make sure that's what I felt for scientific reasons.
Kid's going to do that ghost thing, the ghost hunter thing, where they sit there and go, could you do it again? If that's really you,
3 times.
do that again. We have to be sure.
3 times.
We need you to do it again. Supposedly he was visibly shaken, and he fled.
I'm going to turn the spirit box on, and I want you to also tell me I'm a bad investigator.
So anyway, sorry, Chris, that
Sorry.
happened to you.
Yeah, that maybe we can get like a TLC show, like The Ghost Touched Me There, and because there's a lot of those stories,
Yes.
like Violators from Beyond or something. I got it. Paranormal SVU.
Okay. All right. So this next story is about an actor named Matthew McNulty. He stars in a show called The Rising Star. And he had a story about staying in a haunted hotel and seeing a ghost pee in his closet. Apparently that's what happened to him. So he was talking about his unusual experience. And he said one time he was in a
Sure
hotel.
looks like regular pee to me, Matthew.
He said he was
Pretty soppy. Not a lot of ghosts do that, Matthew. You were pretty drunk when you came up here last night. I swear it was a ghost.
funny enough, I think he was inebriated.
It was a ghost. It peed right in my closet. I saw it. It also took an Amber Heard on the bed.
He said, well, here's the funny thing. He said that he was in a hotel half an hour from Galway in the middle of nowhere on the west coast of Ireland, and it was known for being haunted. And he'd had a few drinks,
And
he
drunk.
went to bed, and he had a vision of an old guy. And he said his vision was that he sat on the bed, and then he peed in the wardrobe. And he was like, what are you doing? But then he woke up out of his dream or whatever. And he said it was just a very vivid, real dream. He said it was probably alcohol induced, but, that might be something to it. But he said, at least it wasn't me that peed in the wardrobe. I did check.
Back when I used to drink, years ago,
Right.
first place I ever got, I had my roommate tell me that every time I was drinking, I would get up. I like to sleep on the couch
Right.
downstairs, and I would go halfway up to where the steps equal out, and then you go up the next set of steps because the bathroom was upstairs.
Right.
Only bathroom in the place.
Yes.
And I would go halfway up and pee on the landing there, and then
Well, at least you thought you were going to the bathroom.
and go back down and go to sleep. Now, this happened way too many times.
People come over and be like, what is that weird smell?
I had to do all kinds of stuff
stairs?
for that to clean it because I'm a clean person, but
Right.
to make sure there was not a smell. But when you wake up and see your roommate really angry,
Right.
many times.
You sleep pretty heavy like that. Like, you still do weird stuff. You don't pee in the corners anymore, but you do some weird stuff when you wake up. Like, you woke up before and had food and drinks in your hand, sitting up sleeping.
Fair.
And I've had to take them out of your hands.
I do that.
Like, you'll just be sitting there sleeping, sitting up with food and stuff. And then I'll be like, why did you go get food? You're like, I didn't go get food. You went and got food.
No idea how that happens. Anyway, I don't want to blame the ghost on this one.
No,
I
I
think the
feel
jury's
like
still out.
Yeah, I feel like that was all alcohol related.
Yeah, especially being Ireland, right?
Right.
And he
Right.
just probably wasn't used to it. But we had a lot of pee and drop things on this episode.
I
But
know.
anyway, that was some really good news.
Yeah, there you go.
Some really paranormal news anyway. Anyway, very excited. All kinds of crazy things, as we said, going on right now in the world. And you can see they are. Patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's a place to go find us, talk about some other weird, strange things. Don't forget, our next episode is going to be 5 from 5, where we go back in time, so to speak,
Right.
and find some stories from the past to see how they match up to today. For my lovely, beautiful wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.